I'm Brian Penny of Brewster, Massachusetts. You're tuned to the International Radio Report. 30 minutes of news about radio on CKUT, 90.3 FM in Montreal.
Welcome, everyone, to the International Radio Report for Sunday, June the 26th, 2022. My name's Sheldon. I'm here with Jill, and we thank you for joining us for 30 minutes of news and information from the world of radio. We can be reached by email, radioreport@yahoo.com. We're live streaming and archived at the CKUT FM website, which is ckut.ca. Our Facebook group has cracked the 800 mark this week. It is International Radio Report on Facebook. We welcome Dawid, Stephen, and Temam joining us, getting us to 802 members. And our YouTube channel with 655 subscribers. You can find us on YouTube at International Radio Report, where you can listen to the show at your leisure and listen back to older shows as well. So lots of ways to track us down, both over the air and on the web. We have a cross-section of stories today, some from here in Canada, the US, and some overseas stories. So we'll get moving right away with the first one, which comes to us from Connie Thiessen, writing for Broadcast Dialogue. CRTC imposes new spending and reporting requirements on the CBC and Radio-Canada. The CRTC is imposing new spending and reporting requirements on both CBC and Radio-Canada that the regulator says will promote the creation of more diverse content while providing the public broadcaster with flexibility to fulfill its mandate across traditional and online platforms. The 5-year license renewal, which comes into effect September the 1st, follows a process that started in late 2019 and included a public hearing in January of 2021. The Commission received more than 10,000 individual comments during the proceeding. The CRTC's decision acknowledges how online platforms have changed the way Canadians consume audio and audiovisual content, and for the first time allows the public broadcaster to meet its condition of license via its streaming platforms. CBC Gem, EC2.tv, CBC.ca, and Radio-Canada.ca are not included. The decision is a first in allowing a Canadian broadcaster to meet its Canadian content obligations on a platform outside linear TV and radio. The public broadcaster's new reporting framework imposes new requirements to ensure its programming is relevant to and reflective of all Canadians of diverse backgrounds and Indigenous peoples living in Canada. Among those, the CRTC is imposing new spending requirements relating to Canadian programming, programs of national interest such as drama and documentaries, as well as Indigenous programming and programming by and for equity-seeking communities. Canadian and French language content music requirements on radio stations are being maintained to ensure continued support of homegrown artists. The CRTC is adding a new content requirement for Indigenous music on all English and French language radio stations. The CRTC is maintaining CBC Radio-Canada's local programming requirements in non-metropolitan markets, where Canadians have access to fewer sources of news and less reliable and affordable internet services. CBC Radio-Canada must ensure that its programming is accessible to Canadians with disabilities on all platforms and services. CBC Radio-Canada must submit an annual report on the number of employees occupying positions with a direct impact on the diversity of audio and audiovisual programming and on program decision-making who are hired and who belong to the following groups: Indigenous people, racialized Canadians, Canadians with disabilities, Canadians who identify as LGBTQ2, and women. The CBC Radio-Canada must also report on the retention of these employees. The CRTC will also require CBC and Radio-Canada to conduct regular surveys of all Canadians on how the public broadcaster is meeting their needs, in addition to formal consultations every 2 years with Indigenous peoples, official language minorities, communities, racialized persons, persons with disabilities, and persons who identify as LGBTQ2. The CRTC is modernizing its approach to ensure that the CBC Radio-Canada programming can adapt to and reflect the evolving preferences of Canadians, including equity-seeking and official language minority communities and Indigenous peoples, said CRTC Chair Ian Scott in a statement. We are giving the CBC Radio-Canada more flexibility while ensuring it is accountable and representative of our various geographic and cultural realities in both official languages. We're pleased that the CRTC has, for the first time ever, recognized a significant contribution of our digital streaming services, CBC Gem and EC2.TV, and CBC Listen and Radio-Canada ODDO, to the Canadian content ecosystems. CBC Radio-Canada's services as a multi-platform digital and linear media company will now be reflected in our regulatory obligations, said Catherine Tate, President and CEO of CBC Radio-Canada. We're equally heartened that the Commission's decisions recognize diversity and representation of contemporary Canada in our content as critical to the future of the national public broadcaster. So I guess they've covered all the bases that they needed to, and pretty clearly laid out the next 5-year period with periodic reviews as they go along through that 5-year period of the license renewals.
Yeah, it's normal that it reflects all Canadians, and that is nice. The only thing that I would like to see about the CBC Radio-Canada, we talked about it with the demise of Radio-Canada International and what they're doing with the website of RCI. And it's, I would like to have more transparency. Okay, you've got all of that money to do these things, and you have the mandate to do these things. So we would like to see a little more of how much you did spend and who's in charge of every aspect of the CBC for all of what's happening there, because there's part of the CBC that seems to be like very difficult to penetrate and know really in detail where everything's going, where the money's going. It is our money after all. So I think the CBC needs to be more transparent, though.
Yeah, it's kind of sad that RCI is not mentioned in here at all. Even though it is an entity, it is under the management of the Radio-Canada people here in Montreal, but not specifically mentioned, at least in this particular announcement from the CRTC.
So there's a Broadcasters Foundation of America that announces Radio Giving Day. This is by Paul McLean of Radio World. In an effort to raise awareness of its good work, the Broadcasters Foundation of America has named next Wednesday, June the 29th, as the first annual Radio Giving Day. Foundation co-president Tim McCarthy says the foundation hopes to make sure everyone working in radio stations across America is aware of what we do. It's a tragedy to think that one of our colleagues in need might qualify for aid but doesn't know about us. The organization supports broadcast professionals in need of financial assistance due to a critical illness, accident, or disaster. It hopes radio groups and stations will hold employee donation drives in support of Radio Giving Day. Companies that have expressed support include Alpha Media Group, Odyssey, Beasley Media Group, Conessa Media, Educational Media Foundation, Good Karma Brands, iHeartMedia, Independent Broadcasters Association, Premier Networks, Salem Media Group, Skyview Satellite Network, Spanish Broadcasting System, and Town Square Media. Last year, the foundation gave $2 million in monthly and one-time emergency grants. It reports that requests for help continue to rise. That's a good idea because, like everybody working in a job, in this case, media, you work for a radio station, a TV station, something happens, you might just be in trouble not having a paycheck anymore. So having some kind of money coming through somewhere because you need help is a pretty good idea.
Yeah, I think so. And they also provide the ability to make a donation through their website.
Yep.
So we'll post that link on our Facebook page if. And, it's pretty much open to anybody who would like to support. If you're in the business yourself, or you know somebody that is, you may want to help support that. So good to see that foundation is out there for people in a field that's quite challenging these days. You're lucky if you do have a job, but it may not be permanent. It may disappear very quickly. So you've always got to be ready.
And not counting the fact that, for most of these people, there's really no safety net.
That's right. Next, we take you over to Hawaii, and Paul McLean of Radio World has another story this week. Hawaii Public Radio's signals on Kauai are down. Listeners on the beautiful island of Kauai have not been able to pick up Hawaii Public Radio for some time, but the organization hopes to have the service back on the air in July. According to a post from the Hawaii Public Radio President and General Manager Jose Fajardo, the signals of KIPL on 89.9 and an HPR translator on 101.7 are down. Kauai's main transmitter, located on Mount Kahili, is accessible only by helicopter and only when weather conditions make it safe to fly to the site. Unfortunately, when our engineers reached the site, he found damage to the transmitter that necessitated it being removed and brought back to Oahu for repairs. Backlogs in the broadcast equipment and parts supply chain further delayed the repair work, which is now scheduled to be completed by the end of this month. Don Mussel is HPR's engineer. Fajardo said Mussel also discovered that safety-related repairs needed to be made, including reinforcing the foundation under the transmitter tower. This work is being handled by our landlord, who has scheduled a helicopter and work crew to perform the repairs at the end of this month. The station is waiting for confirmation from our landlord of the completed site repairs, and then we will schedule our contract engineer to fly to the site and reinstall the transmitter. Fajardo provided listeners with an alternative way to hear and to find HPR1 and HPR2, including streaming, smart speaker, mobile app, and cable TV channels. The station has special temporary authority for going silent due to its transmitter failure. So that's kind of disappointing,
Yeah.
To have them off the air as long as they have. But often they put these FM antennas and transmitters up at a very high elevation. And if weather is bad or, you just can't get there without the use of special equipment, helicopters, etc., it may take some time. Throw into that the transmitter tower sounds like it's about to fall down. It doesn't help either. So Looks like they have a lot of work to get done to get those stations back on the air in Hawaii, but hopefully by the end of July.
Yeah, hopefully, because there must be a lot of people that miss their favorite NPR station. So what's happening with our sun? Well, this week there was a huge sunspot that crossed the surface that was growing, and we're waiting for it to flare, do something, but it stayed quiet most of the time, even though it is really in a good position to have at least an M flare. There's been a lot of little difficulties because apparently the station where we get images from our sun is down. And so they've been asking actually on Space Weather for people that have any pictures of the sun taken to send them in to have, complete the information there. So conditions are rather quiet, but the solar flux is above 120, the sunspot number 69. Conditions should continue to be quiet. We don't really know if there's a coronal hole or not that could send some solar wind, once again, because of the images and the data that are missing. So if conditions do degrade, maybe something could be happening with that. And of course, we still have a few sunspots that could flare at the same time. All of that, when it's quiet, though, is making for great conditions. I've been listening to BBC 9915 at 04 UTC from Madagascar with an amazing signal. Radio New Zealand 15720, amazing signal. I mean, propagation has been just wonderful. But there's only one way to know that, and it's turn on the radio and listen.
Hi, this is Alan Liddell of WDEL Radio, Wilmington, Delaware, USA. If it's happening in the world of radio, every week at 10:30 a.m. on the International Radio Report on CKUT 90.3 FM in Montreal and on the web at ckut.ca.
So we have a upcoming event, unfortunately not as it is every year, SAQ, unable to air the Alexanderson Day July 3rd, 2022. This is via Ralph Bender, via Glenn Hauser's World of Radio. So due to the difficulties in obtaining components in the ongoing maintenance work, the 98-year-old 200 kilowatt Alexanderson alternator will not be able to air on Alexanderson Day. The Alexander Association welcomes all visitors to Alexanderson Day, Sunday, July 3rd, 2022, from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. After the pandemic restrictions of the last 2 years, we are happy to welcome all visitors again. Together with the World Heritage Grimpton radio station, we will offer many activities for the whole family during the day. We will make 2 transmitter startups with SAQ, but this year without any transmission over the antenna due to difficulties in obtaining components in the ongoing maintenance work. There will be live video from World Heritage Grimpton radio station. Both transmitter startups can be seen live on the YouTube channel and or by following the links that we will post. This year, we will give a more in-depth technical presentation of the Alexanderson alternator during the startups. There is going to be a special event station also, which is Sierra Kilo 6, Sierra Alpha Queen. During the day, our amateur radio station SK6SAQ will also be staffed and be listening on the following frequencies: 3535 CW, 7035 CW, 14035 CW, 3755 single sideband, and 7140 single sideband. And QSL reports can be actually sent to info@alexander.n.se, also through the Bureau, and there is also a postal address. This is in Sweden, by the way, and it's sad to see that they won't be able to go on the air, but at least they're still making the event happen on that day.
Yeah, that's an annual event of, as they say, a 98-year-old special type of transmitter, and they have had CW broadcasts in the past, but unfortunately not able to do that this year. Next, we have some news from the European Broadcasting Union in a press release. The press release reads, "Public service media continue to mobilize wide range of support for Ukrainian refugees." More than 14 million people have fled their homes since Russia's invasion of Ukraine, and the war shows no sign of ending. For World Refugee Day on June 20th, we highlighted some of the issues faced by displaced Ukrainian people and reaffirming that the support from the EBU and its members will continue. The support is manifested across a range of projects. Airstrikes on the TV towers in Kyiv and Rivne underline the vulnerability of broadcast communications in a war zone. Together with our members, we have coordinated the supply and delivery of critical equipment such as IP connectivity solutions, satellite phones, AM transmitters, and studio support to enable the uninterrupted transmission of vital news and information. In these circumstances, being able to rely on accurate news sources is key. Many EBU members have launched dedicated news services specifically for refugees in their own language, so that they can tap into vital updates from home, wherever in the world they are. Rai News in Italy has a daily news bulletin in Ukrainian. RTBF Ukraine is a web-based radio station for Ukrainian refugees in Belgium with 100% of its content in Ukrainian. And YLE in Finland has a Ukrainian language news service for providing the latest news bulletins in Ukrainian. Many public media outlets are also retransmitting content directly from Ukrainian public broadcaster UA-PBC for Ukrainian refugees. Providing practical information to help people navigate the uncertainties of settling into new homes has also been a priority and has seen the launch of many dedicated programming and channels. GPB has a hotline for Ukrainians in Georgia. Czech Radio and Radio Prague have launched a podcast, News for Ukrainians in the Czech Republic, that offers practical information for incomers. While ARD in Germany presents How to Deutschland Insta, Swedish radio's Ukrainian service for new arrivals, includes practical advice on how to access medical care or educational facilities for kids. And RTP Online service helps with learning a new language. For children, displacement through a war is particularly traumatic. TVP in Poland has developed a site for kids from Ukraine, which, as well as showing selected content in Ukrainian, also presents lessons in learning Polish. ARD and ZDF in Germany have included content in Ukrainian for children, including German language learning programs, and Czech Radio has recorded fairy tales in Ukrainian. Noel Curran, Director General of the EBU, said, "Few of us can understand the trauma of being forced to leave our homes, not knowing when or if we will return. I'm proud to belong to a community that has mobilized a wide range of practical support so quickly, while ensuring trusted news and information continues to reach those who need it, wherever in the world they are. World Refugee Day is a moment to reflect on a situation that continues to need targeted support, to reaffirm our commitment to giving it for as long as it takes."
Definitely great that all of these networks and stations that chip in and, get into giving news to all the refugees and all the people that are displaced because of, Ukraine war. And I think it's cool. Imagine if all of these stations had kept their shortwave transmitters actually be able to send news to Ukraine directly.
Yeah, it's nice to see that they're sending a lot of updated equipment, but also they included AM transmitters to be sent. So they do realize that, there's going to be a lot of people who are only going to have maybe a very basic radio to be able to tune in and get information. So, to send AM transmitters and studio support to be able to get programming on the air is really, really great. So an excellent effort by the European Broadcasting Union members throughout Europe.
So we have upcoming ham radio contests.
Yeah, it's a big day coming up for Canada. Canada Day coming up on July the 1st. And Radio Amateurs of Canada every year organizes the RAC Canada Day contest. It's a full 24 hours on July the 1st from 0000 to 23:59. And each year, the anniversary of Canada's Confederation, Radio Amateurs of Canada, sponsors the Canada Day contest, and amateurs all over the world are invited to Canada's birthday party on the air. The bands run 160 through 2 meters. It's a CW, phone. You can use AM, FM, single sideband, whichever you prefer. Contacts with stations in Canada or VE0 stations are worth 10 points. Contacts with stations outside Canada are worth 2 points. And what's really fun is an official RAC station is on the air in each province and each territory of Canada using the suffix RAC on their call sign. So, for example, in Quebec, VA2 RAC, Ontario, VA3 RAC, etc. So you can participate in the contest and accumulate points if you like, or you can just make contacts to give other stations points or just as a shortwave listener if you want to tune around and listen and try to log all these RAC stations, or try to log at least one station from every province and territory. Lots of challenging things for you to do on the Canada Day contest coming up on July the 1st.
I'm thinking of joining. I think I'm going to have a lot of fun. And, it's amazing also. Interesting because you can actually listen to every part of Canada, every territory. That is probably your time of the year where that can happen. But it's amazing to think when you start looking at a map and contacting all of these stations, that distance between some of these stations from your area, it just shows how big Canada is, and it's just amazing. And it makes a good challenge also.
Yeah, there'll be some pile-ups, particularly for those territories stations. They don't activate very often, and there's not a lot of hams in those areas as well. So if you can get the RAC stations, it'll be really neat.
Yep, and it's a good time to listen to also. It's a lot of fun. I've been listening in the past few years to get the RAC stations, but also, you hear all of the Canadian provinces and so on. It's a lot of fun to even listen to, even if you're not a ham radio operator. So there's the Venezuelan Independence Day contest, 0 Zulu to 2359 Zulu, July 2nd, organized by the Radio Club Venezolano. Bands 10, 15, 20, 40, and 80, modes SSB, CW, and PSK.
The New Zealand Association of Radio Transmitters Incorporated is running the Memorial Contest, 800 Zulu July 2nd to 1100 Zulu July 3rd. It's 80 meters only, but also a CW and SSB.
There's the DLDX RTTY contest, 11 Zulu July 2nd to 1059 Zulu July 3rd, organized by the DLDX RTTY contest group. The mode is Baudo RTTY only. Bands 3.5 to 30 megahertz, excluding the work bands.
And finally, the Marconi Memorial HF Contest, 1400 Zulu July 2nd to 1400 Zulu July 3rd, organized by the Italian Radio Amateur Association. The aim of the contest, the Marconi Memorial Contest HF commemorates the 2nd century of radio and its father, Marconi. It's a worldwide competition. Everybody can work everybody. It is CW only, though. 10 meters through 160 meter bands, excepting the work bands, are allowed according to the IARU band plans.
So lots of stuff to listen to and to participate if you are a ham operator.
We will put up the links to all of these contests with all the rules and regulations for each of them, so have some fun with them. And I think the Canada Day contest will be the big one. Lots of people should be checking out that one.
Yep, and it's a big weekend coming up also next week. So with the 4th of July in the U.S.,
Yep, there should be, I think, probably a lot of special event stations that pop up. So check the bands, use some of the DX spotting sites on the web to track down some of the stations as well. And hopefully conditions will hold up nicely as well.
Yep, it could be a pretty nice pirate radio weekend also.
That too, yep. Should be some of them coming out of the woodwork also.
So we are out of time.
All right. It goes by quickly. We thank you for staying with us for our 30 minutes, and we'll do it all again next week on the International Radio Report here on CKUT 90.3 FM in Montreal. We encourage you to go check out our Facebook group, International Radio Report, and you can listen to the show at your leisure and previous shows on our YouTube channel, International Radio Report. Have a great weekend, everybody. Happy Canada Day, and we'll talk to you next Sunday.
Bye-bye.
This is the BBC World Service calling Antarctica. I'm Keris Matthews here to welcome you to the Antarctic Midwinter Broadcast, a special programme of greetings and music for members of the British Antarctic Survey overwintering in the frozen south. For those of us in the Northern Hemisphere, it's midsummer, a time for garden barbecues and beach parties. I don't want to rub it in. But for the winterers in Antarctica, it's below freezing. It's dark, they're isolated, but it's still a time for celebration. a midwinter celebration. So over the next half hour, we'll have music, some well-known guests, and messages from family and friends for an audience of just 32 stranded in the cold, cold snow.